Kris Kloss here with the Wrestling Chatter YouTube channel. Of course, the channel that presents Cali's finest on the 10th of every month. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Wrestling Chatter YouTube channel. Now, we talk about all the greats from the state of California, but sometimes we want to get across and bring attention to the unsung heroes, guys that maybe don't get the limelight as much as they should. My guest on this episode of Cali's Finest, Mr. Outrageous Al Burke. Who the heck is he? He was seen on the Superstars of Wrestling, Wrestling Challenge. He was Enhancement talent. He was a jobber. We talk all about that, being in the ring with guys like the Ultimate Warrior, Dusty Rhodes, the Big Boss Man, Andre the Giant, and the list goes on and on. We talk about his retirement match that was held here in Southern California. And we also talk about the fact that WWE might be bringing a Jobbers Hall of Fame into existence. Very interesting stuff. Al Burke, Mr. Outrageous, you saw him star with Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer, the big Billy Idol fan on the airplane. And how yours truly and Al Burke crossed paths, and it was a young Kris Kloss with an Al Burke fan club sign in the first row. We'll get into all that, why that even happened. My guest, Mr. Outrageous, Al Burke, right here on Cali's Finest.
All right, Al Burke, man, welcome to Cali's Finest. The great Al Burke, a.k.a. Mr. Outrageous, our guest on this edition of Cali's Finest. Fans, remember, you can see Cali's Finest on the 10th of every month. And by doing so, you got to subscribe right here, youtube.com/The Wrestling Chatter. Thank you all for those of you who subscribed and new subscribers as well. We hope you enjoy this new series, Cali's Finest. And I can't think of anybody better than the one and only Al Burke, Mr. Outrageous. Welcome to Cali's Finest, Al.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. We kind of, it's very interesting how we kind of cross paths indirectly back in the day. We'll get this out of the way, but when I was a young whippersnapper before I got into the business, I would bring signs to wrestling shows, and I knew where to place myself to get on television. I had a mind for it before I got into the business. I've told that story before, but opposite hard cam and all that, and I brought a sign, and we'll flash it here. Just a random sign. I said Al Burke Fan Club, and it actually got on TV on Mankind, Mick Foley's first ever match in the WWF.
It did, and amazingly, I've had fans send it to me from all over the world. They find it on the internet going, "Hey, did you see this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen it before, but thank you. Cool."
You know, you and I first met at I want to say it was the first ever. You were backstage at the first ever XPW show in Reseda. And that's when you and I first met. And I saw you and we never met. I'm like, Al Burke, hey, look, because I was just fresh in the business then. I'm like, my name is Kris Kloss. By the way, do you remember at Monday Night Raw, there was a sign in the crowd that said Al Burke. And before I could finish, you're like, yeah, Al Burke Fan Club. Yeah. And I'm like, I know, of course I know you know that. Well, that was me. Go, no. And then so we started talking then. And so anyway, that was but I remember you. I remember you in WWF. I saw you in '93 at Long Beach against Tatanka. Saw you a few other places, but I remember they stopped using, because I put that sign up. It was the day after WrestleMania 12, April 1st in San Bernardino National Orange Show. And I had, I remember like, hey, I missed those enhancement matches. I'm like one of the few fans that actually missed those enhancement matches. So I remember bringing signs of different enhancement guys, and your name just popped in my head. And I brought that. But that was pretty funny. And that we met, and a couple people you say have sent you that image.
Yes.
A couple people asked me like, hey, is that you? Was that you holding the sign? Because you see my face there. I'm like, yep, that was me, man. But
now, interesting story to add to that. I got an ass chewing for that from the WWF executives.
Oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, they called me in the back, and I'm like, oh. So and these are like gods. I mean, one of the best things before we went to the ring, we were at the what we call the gorilla position.
Yeah,
Gorilla Monsoon was sitting right here, looking at you, going, "Go!" And you go to the ring.
Yeah.
But anyways, I got called to the back and like, what is this Burke Fan Club? What kind of bullshit is this? I'm like, it's news to me. I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't set that up, no.
No, and they were joking more. It was more of a rib on me, but they were like, that's funny.
Well, I remember I brought a bunch of silly signs. Bring back the Conquistadors numbers 1 and 2. Bring back Jameson. And then I did have one sign. This is kind of interesting. Remember, this was the day after
the Bischoff sign.
The what? Yeah, Bischoff and Mongol are horrible. They like that sign. But so I had pro WWF stuff. But one sign I held up, and halfway done, it got snagged out of my hand. The guy I was with, it was like, I'm like, who stole that? I'm looking for a fan. They're like, no, that was somebody that worked WWF. I'm like, what? Oh, my sign read, Sean who? ? Hitman rules. And this was the day after Sean won the belt. And I had that right smack dab when Sean's first interview at Hardcam, and they ripped it out of my hands. Yeah.
No, they're brutal. I mean, you can call them whatever they want. They're 100% business, but if you're going against their business, I mean, Vince has a team of lawyers just at hand, just ready to pounce on anybody, and they don't care.
Yeah. It's so true, man. And I just couldn't believe, like, I knew that was going to ruffle feathers because they were trying to make people forget about Brett, and Sean's the guy, and boom, that sign. And it was just perfect hard cam. And all the signs I had, really, that's the sign you're going to take away. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. But if that's the only one you're taking, I'm cool with that. You can have that because I got these.
Yeah. But this was about 2 years before I got in the business. And oddly enough, the late great Supreme and his nephew Kid Chaos, before we knew each other, they were sitting like 10 seats to my left at that show. So we didn't even know each other then. But and then a couple of years later, like, I got in the business, and then in 1999, the debut of XPW, and that's when you and I met and kind of went over that. But Al, talk really quick. We're here, Cali's finest, and you've made your home now in California for quite some years. But you are originally from where? Was not Wisconsin, or?
I started in Minnesota. So I went to Eddie school, all that. I mean, actually, Eddie's main trainer at the time was Dan Rignotti, one of the Terminators.
Okay.
Who was a good friend of mine. And they had tried to talk me into getting into wrestling for years. They took me to Hulk Hogan's apartment.
Oh, wow.
And met Hulk. He had just come back from Rocky 3 had just been released, so he was exploding, but he was still with the AWA doing the Bockwinkel, where he wrestled Nick 3 times, lost all 3. They gave him 1, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, he told us where to go to school, and I walked away from that meeting going, no, I can't do that. That's stupid. And my friends would travel all over the world. They come back and like, oh, we were just in, Europe. We're going to Japan. We're here, we're there. And finally I did it, and I had outlasted all 3 of their careers put together. I've done 37 years.
Wow.
I just added up because I'm being inducted into a Hall of Fame. That I've got approximately 5,000 matches.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've been very blessed. I mean, I had a lot of promoters that used me twice, sometimes 3 times, which, I got paid the same. It wasn't like, I was getting rich because I worked 3 times. I was just getting a lot of work, which really helped me grow. I mean, I was never the greatest wrestler. But one thing I did do, which I noticed WWF didn't do, and I got my ass chewed for this too, is I interacted with the fans.
Oh, right.
And many, many times they come and, like, knock it off. Or the referee would come over and go, get away from the fans. You know better. Okay, bye. And they would just cut it out, of course, because that's the way they work.
Right.
But, you know, it was fun. Now, I've even heard rumors now for many years, probably 6, 7, 8 years, that there's supposed to be a WWE Jobber Hall of Fame.
Yes, right. I've heard this too.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, it's like, okay, you know, that'd be kind of cool if it happens. I mean, I was one of the fortunate ones. I did almost 6 years with them.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I mean, I'm going against the biggest, the baddest, the strongest guys in the world, not just in wrestling, but in the whole freaking world.
So what year you're talking, Hogan? About 83. You're at his apartment, and when did you officially start with WWF?
I think my first match was in the 90s. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry.
No.
No, late 80s. So it would have been like 85, 86. I
Okay.
actually, on my IMDb, which is more of an acting website,
Right.
also I got a bunch of credits. I'm looking like, wow, you know, and every once in a while I go to see what's there, what's not. And I start scrolling down, and here's the WWF matches of a lot, almost all the guys I worked with. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Wow.
But yeah, you know, it's just a lot of guys, you know, scrape money just to pay for wrestling school. I paid mine off in the first year working for WWF. I mean, we made good money. Tom Stone, who was the main booker of the Midwest, put me in charge of Minnesota. So I would be bringing, you know, anywhere from, you know, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think one time I even had to bring 20 guys. We had 3 vans. And I was really scraping because at that point, I remember, quick funny story. One of the guys I brought was really more of a referee. I mean, you know, little guy, he did wrestle, but he was little, and that was way before little guys were ever allowed.
Right.
Well, you know, he's walking by Andre, and Andre's like, boy, why you got such a long face? Well, so I'm too small to wrestle. Well, did you get paid? He goes, yeah. Good. Give me some ice. I need some for my wine. So that added a little insult to injury for him. But, you know, it was just one of those things. But no, we traveled. We had fun. I still talk to a few of the guys that we travel all over with. It was awesome. I mean, yeah, we got our asses kicked, sometimes brutally. Many of you have probably seen me in The Ultimate Warrior, one of my worst nights ever, because Jim was a crowbar, to say the least.
Wow.
But hey, you know, and Ricky Rude and I were really good friends. I remember coming back from that match, and Rick comes over to me and goes, dude, that was just all wrong. I go, hey, I'm just here to do my job. Well, at the time, Rick was working the angle against Warrior. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, I know. Stiff motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, that was a hard one, you know, losing Ricky too, you know, like, especially coming out of Minnesota. All these guys.
Yeah, all you guys. Are you originally, that's where you're originally from, born and raised Minnesota?
Partially. My dad raced for Harley Davidson, so we based out of Georgia because he would race Daytona Beach when it was the beach. There was no raceway. So I spent, you know, a lot of my life down there, or my younger life, and then but really I was born in Minnesota, mostly raised there, went to school there.
Whereabouts?
Minneapolis area.
Okay, a bit down there. Okay.
You know, the good side. we call St. Paul the evil sister.
Okay. Well, I got relatives way up north in Lake Vermilion.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Way up there.
Yeah, no, I had, you know, a couple of lake places. I mean, yeah, you know, I was Minnesota, but I just couldn't take the winter anymore. I had to get
for sure.
So happy. And, you know, the promoter I was working for at the time was out of Denver, and he would have us drive out here.
Wow.
So, you know, I would leave Minnesota, drive all the way across country. We'd wrestle on the way. We'd wrestle on the way back. And then, you know, that'd be the end of the tour. And we'd do, you know, 14, 21, 22 days. I think 23 was my longest with him. So it was kind of cool. But finally, I had the opportunity to move here. And it's like, you know what? Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, never looked back. And I mean, you probably just heard Karl Lauer died.
Yeah.
The ex-president of the CAC. He got me my first movie gig.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was funny because at our convention, you know, he always gave me a bad time. You know, never paid me back. I give you your big break in Hollywood, and What do I get? Nothing. So I had gotten a residual check for 1 penny, which is very common in our town. But the funny part is, if they don't pay me my penny, I can sue the living heck out of them. I don't care if it costs them $100 to get it to me. I get my penny. So I had it framed, and I had them called up at the CAC convention, and I said, "Okay, I'm tired of your whining and crying. Here you go. I'm paid in full. Don't spend it all in one place."
Oh man!
But yeah, Carl ended up getting me my first job in Hollywood. So that was awesome, and thank you, Carl, and I miss you.
What was your first big job in Hollywood?
The first big job was a movie called Azul Atomic Blue. It was a Mexican folklore, like a Mexican hero that was lucha libre.
Oh, okay.
So I got to work with those guys. So we had great fight scenes. I mean, I took a backdrop, which was always my specialty, onto the asphalt.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was like, walked away. It's like, yeah, still got it.
All right,
so, you wonder, but that was the very first job. I went out and got an agent after that, and just moved forward. Now I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. And I'm very blessed.
I kick myself because we also crossed paths indirectly. You were in the movie Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler, and you played the Billy Idol fan on the airplane. Yes. And I remember I didn't know you were in it. I saw it in the theater. Wait a minute, that's Al Burke. Well, no, but I'm a charity benefit auctioneer now, my shoot job. And so I do benefit auctions, and at times there's special guest celebrities. And I did an auction with Billy Idol. And I didn't mention you, and I kicked myself like, whoever is he ever going to meet that's going to, oh, hey, Al Burke,
Yeah.
So we have that connection too. But so you move out to Cali in about what year?
91.
91. Okay, so at that time you were still obviously working with WWF, doing a lot of enhancement jobber matches, as you call them. And I hope you're right. I hope there is a Hall of Fame for that, because you got yourself, Horowitz, Iron Mike Sharp, Chris Duffy, Dale Wolf. I mean, all these guys that,
Gary Williams, Tom Stone. I mean,
Tom Rocky Stone, Gary Key, who was Tool in XPW. Yeah, great guy too. It was shout out to him.
No, Gary's good people. I love Gary.
I was gonna say, I know you're kidding when you say that. He's a good dude. Yeah.
Well, you weren't at this match, but I did a charity match here in La Cañada.
Okay.
For a little girl that died of cancer that I used to coach.
Okay.
Gary busted my head open with a chair. Took 9 staples to close it at a charity match. But I always told anybody, if you're going to hit me with a chair, frickin' lace me. I go, I can take it. And I go, if it's a brand new chair, I want it bent over my back. That's how hard I want you to hit me. Well, most guys wouldn't because they were afraid. But Gary hit me good. But I was bleeding like a stuck pig.
Oh man, Gary is unassuming. Like, he's a bigger guy than you realize sometimes when you see him. He's a pretty big dude, but when you're looking at him, all the guys are on TV. He looks average, but in person, like, oh geez, he's a big dude, But no, he's another one of them. I hope they do the Hall of Fame. So in 91, you move out to Cali and you become synonymous out here, and you took the name Mr. Outrageous. How did that come about?
I'm not sure I can say that here on the air.
Yeah, you can on this show, but if you don't want to, that's fine.
No, I mean, the promoter ended up giving me that name, and I kept him awake all night long because my girlfriend had just flown in.
Oh,
I'm sure you can put the pieces together in that puzzle. But he goes, he goes all of a sudden and be like, oh, good, it's quiet. I can go to sleep. Bang, bang, bang. Like, oh, come on.
So that was okay. So you when you move out here, you're basically you're working now. Is this your full-time gig with WWF at the time?
Not full-time. Wrestling was full-time. I did WWF. But I was also working the independents. I was still working for the guy out of Denver, which I did I do 8 years for him, I think.
Okay. And
I never lived in Denver. So I would fly to Denver. I would
Wow.
drive to Denver, whatever it took. There were times if it was summertime. At the time, the guy I did a lot of work against was Party Animal, Warren Bianchi, who
Warren Bianchi, yeah. Warren Bianchi.
which I heard he's been in a mental institution for many, many years now, kind of lost it, which is sad. But
sorry to hear that.
we would load our Harleys onto a trailer all the way out to Denver, do our shows, and then go riding. When we were all done, we put it back in the trailer and head back home.
Wow, not a bad gig, man.
Oh no, it was, I mean, you're getting your way paid, you're getting paid, and everything worked out great. So it was awesome. I mean, it was a heck of a life. I have no complaints. I did have to get back in shape here. What was it, about 3 years ago? I met a guy, Bernie the Cat Livingston, out of Toronto. Okay. Ended up meeting a bunch of them, and they hired me up there in Toronto to do a series of matches. So I had to get back in shape, and it was, I didn't hit it hard. I mean, I hit it very steady. When I was working out for some of my later matches, I was anywhere from 12 to 15 miles almost every single day of the week.
Wow.
Hiking the mountains, doing whatever. For the Toronto, I think the most I made it up to was about 6 miles a day. I was tired, and but it's like, okay, I've never had the chance to wrestle in Canada. Yeah, why not?
Now, how long ago was this, you said?
I ended the end of 2018, because COVID started 2019, I think, was it?
No, early 20, late 20, early 20.
Okay, well, it was like 3 months before.
Early 20, late 19.
Okay, so it was
in America, it was early 20.
Okay, so it was the end of 2019. I finished up there, so it was perfect timing.
Okay.
But, I mean, I had told the promoter up there, I go, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. I go, you've got to give me, a good heel. Unfortunately, The Wedding Singer changed my life completely as a wrestler. Once that movie came out, no fan would buy me as a heel anymore. And I tried.
Wow.
I loved being a heel.
Wow.
And I kicked it in high gear. I mean, I was as mean and nasty as I could possibly think of. And people would be like, yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
Whoa. And finally I had to give in. I just, had to accept that I was a baby.
It's a silly little scene in a movie, but Adam Sandler at the time was a hot ticket. And look, the villain in that movie, you attacked and saved Billy Idol and Adam Sandler. Yeah. It seems mundane, but actually that was part of pop culture at that time.
I remember reading the script and thinking, wow, this is really a chick flick. And I had no idea that Adam and Drew were in this. And at the time, Billy Idol wasn't in it. It was David Lee Roth.
Oh, really?
I read for David. So I'm thinking girls, all this stuff. So it's like, that's cool. And then when I get the part, which was, 28 days later after the audition, I all of a sudden get a call saying, hey, you got the part. I'm like, what part? I haven't been out for like 2 weeks. And it says, that movie, The Wedding Singer. I'm like, oh, I remember that. Okay. And that night they private couriered over the script, all that stuff. I'm reading it. Well, okay, this is cool. And then I find out Adam, Drew, Billy Idol now. And it's like, okay, I'm digging this. This is cool.
Yeah.
So, and I'm very happy. I mean, whatever I thought didn't matter. And I was surprised at the number of guys that liked the movie. I mean, I was thinking most guys like, girly food, man, who wants that crap? Yeah, and I'm like, no, this is cool, dude. Yeah. Okay, I'm happy. So I was very blessed to get that. It was 2 lines. I got cut to 1 line, but even when I went to the little premiere they had for the cast and the crew, I was wondering, did I get the cutting room floor?
Oh, right.
Exactly. And I read the script and I was like, okay, I get them together. They had to reshoot it, and I know they didn't because they ended on time, on budget, which is unheard of in Hollywood.
Right.
And I know they didn't go back for anything else. So I'm like, I must be there, but you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
And then all of a sudden, there it is. I'm like, oh, thank you. And the fun part is I still get checks for that.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know,
That's
so
great.
I mean, it's not a lot of money, you know, but it's still it's money I didn't have yesterday.
That's right. That's right. And money you will have tomorrow now.
But I also thought this is going to open my whole career. This is going to make this bigger, better. You know, it didn't.
Interesting. It tweaked it a little bit. Like you said, you actually had to work around it somewhat.
Well, in wrestling especially.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, I would go for an audition and they'd look at my resume. Oh, Wedding Singer. I love that movie. Yeah, sorry, you're not going to get the job, but thank you.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting.
But it's, you know, I don't expect to get a job that I'm not suited for.
All right. Exactly.
I mean, I do a lot of seminars here in Hollywood, and I tell people, you know, I look at you and go, okay, you're not going to get hired as a black guy because you're not black.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. So don't think about, you know, and girls, you're not going to get hired to be a guy. Very seldom ever will they change the part, you know, things like that. So Hollywood is very set in their ways, and you just have to get used to that and know it.
Yeah, so true.
Okay.
So that was interesting because Wedding Singer was it was actually the in-between time of you, the Burke Fan Club, 96, and then when we met, 99, XPW, Extreme Pro Wrestling, that was right between that time. So you were now living in California, you're still working for WWF. So you moved here in 91. Now, what we talk about a lot on Cali's Finest and Extreme Memories is like, for example, when XPW, for example, started up in 1999, I try to explain to young fans, like, it wasn't like it is today where there's like indie shows every weekend at almost every other city in LA. They were few and far between. We had a place in LA that opened in 89. And I don't know if you've ever ventured in there. It was Slammer's Wrestling Gym in Sun Valley. If you ever went in there. Okay. All right. So, you know, like that was like this holy grail in the middle of nowhere with all these museum memorabilia. And it was like those places or anything like it just did not exist back then, or indie shows like it does now, you know? So was there any work for you indie wise back in 91 in LA? Much? Not like it is today, but was there?
There was. I had to search it out. Knowing Billy Anderson and Jesse Hernandez, so I had that little bit of an in. I also Kid Chaos.
Yes, right.
Joey. And you know, the funny part is I still call him Kid Chaos. He's like, God, I haven't been called that in years. But that's when I first met him, because he was just a puppy in our business. Yeah. And then he ended up doing things. Now, I never really worked for him. I did a couple of spots where people would rent the gym, hire me. I'd come in. Two Asian guys come in, and you know, they're practicing their wrestling like they used to in the living room on the couch and stuff. And I come in and I just chop the shit out of them. I mean, you know, I show them what it's all about, and I warned their girlfriends at the time. I go, this isn't going to be easy. They're not going to get hurt, but they're going to sting. They're going to cry, and they're like, cool. And the one guy, he was like, big buff, Asian guy. And I had him on the ground. And he's like, I'm such a bitch. But I legitimately was laying in chops. So, it's like, and forearms. Yeah. So, I gave him a taste of it. And, that was my job. But there were other promotions. What was it? Out in Simi Valley. And Gary Key was at that one. I ended up getting in with them. I did a lot of shows for them. Yeah, IWF.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I did a lot of, but I did a lot of other ones. I mean, I just, a lot of these were like the little fly by night. They only did 3, 4, maybe a handful of shows, and they were gone. And they would hear about me and say, "Oh, will you come do my show?" I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Do you, Al, like you said, paying their dues, getting the chops, the forearms? Have you noticed that method is kind of passe and it's gone away a little bit?
Can't hurt me.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Right.
I mean, we tell people what we went through at camp. And the one day it was chop day.
Yeah.
And it was like me and you. You chop me, I chop you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
chop me, I chop you. It was back and forth for hours.
Yeah.
Your chest was almost bleeding. It was like ropes day when you had to learn the ropes, and you were so badly bruised, you were swear your skin was going to split.
So
Don't care. Keep going.
Yeah. So back then, so I had worked some stuff with Slammers and SCCW, and then XPW came around. But you're right. Back in those days, you couldn't get in back in the other side of the curtain if you don't go through some of this stuff, or just be ring crew for a year or whatever. And so we had to do all that. But I remember, just as the announcer, it was one of like this rite of passage where, hey, you know what? Get in the ring, Kloss. Well, no, I'm not a wrestler. You're going to get in the ring or not? Okay. And then we would do the chops. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? But then later on, you realize this is just the way it is to be welcomed in the back then. And you're right. It was like little zits got popped, blood coming down my chest, right? That was one time I did that with the late great Dynamite D, rest in peace, and Damian Steele, Tim Fisher at the XPW training school. But and then there was a time when I had to gig as the announcer, and then I'm gigging because the masked man was going to come in the TV studio, attack me, like he's been attacking all the wrestlers, so he could be anywhere. Even the announcers aren't safe, And then I'm like, okay, and then Chaos, Johnny Webb, Supreme. Oh, they like, come here, man. Yeah, it's going to be great. Here, drink this 6-pack of beer. Number one. Here's some aspirin. Yeah, take that. And here, what we're going to do. Like I was initiated in this gang, like,
yeah.
But again, that was like, I didn't realize how golden that opportunity was in the moment. Cause I'm like, oh, what am I doing? You look back years later, it's like, that was so necessary, not only to be welcomed in the back, but to now be in a place where you're naturally going to respect the fact that you are in the back.
And I think we've lost that too. We've lost the respect for the business.
The respect for being on this, I always mention this, on the opposite side of the curtain, I found once you realize you're back on this side of the curtain, it's like now you realize, oh my gosh, this dream is true. It's come true now.
I'm living the dream. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that. It was such a privilege to be on this side of the curtain, and you could pick out the guys that really appreciate this, or the guys that just want to be in it because it's something that's on television and they're gonna, they don't really like wrestling. You could so easy to pick them out once you're back there. As far as my experience,
I mean, it is amazing, but so many people, I think nowadays, unlike back when I was starting, everybody back then, I think, was so serious because we wanted to make this a living. Most of us knew we weren't big enough to go to the WWF as a superstar. I had a couple of dark matches. I knew I wasn't big enough. I tell people, Sean and Marty Jannetty. Sean was about an inch taller than me, maybe an inch and a half. Marty was the same size.
Right.
But they were 18 years old, jumping off the top rope. I mean, I remember somebody had sent me one of the videos that I did with them. Come off and they each hit you with a punch from opposite sides at the exact same time.
But you told me off air, Al, that it didn't make sense because you said that you're so much prettier than both of them.
One of those things I never, I was privileged to be in WWF. Right. I was privileged to work. I mean, when you got matches against, the biggest guys in the world, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, working against, some of the strongest, or some of the better tag teams. I mean, Heart Foundation.
Oh yeah, Demolition.
Rockers. I mean, I was the first match when LOD came to WWF.
Okay.
And the funny part was I knew Joe and Mike because I'd worked out at their gym and stuff, and all of us coming out of there. And they're like, "Sorry, dude, this is we're coming out. This is our opener, so it's going to be rough." I'm like, fuck you, bring it. One of my easiest nights, and it looked devastating. I mean, they're drop kicks because they knew how to do them. It looked like they were ripping my head off. They hit me solid to the chest, but that's why we trained so hard there. But, it's like, bam, take your bumps, do whatever it took, and have a good freaking time. And I got to work with LOD. Yeah. Did I get squashed? Joe and Mike are freaking monsters. Of course I got squashed. Could I compete with them? No. I mean, plus they were the ultimate professionals.
Oh yeah.
The business. They knew the business in and out, which was awesome. Some of the guys not so much. Warrior, I mean, Jim had his issues. He got to climb that ladder pretty quickly, and it went to his head. Right. He was a specimen. I mean, I remember sitting next to him the day I was working with him, and he didn't talk. He said like 3 words. I remember looking at his skin. You could see through the skin, and you could see the fibers of the muscle underneath. That's how thin his skin was, and it was also a greenish tint.
Wow.
But it was like just paper thin. And he was sitting there eating amino acids by the handfuls. But he was freaking a rock star at that time, and climbing the ladder and doing whatever. I mean, I tell people my best matches, I think probably my most enjoyable matches was either with Duggan or with Big Boss Man. Probably Big Boss Man was number 1. I love it. Oh. And what a great night. What a great guy, But those are the good memories. So even Dusty Rhodes, I was sad because Dusty died before he was going to come to the Vegas convention, because I was looking forward to seeing him again. I got to work with him a couple of times. But yeah, it's just great memories. And like I said, biggest, baddest, strongest, most famous wrestlers in the world. And that was cool. That was really freaking cool.
I'm trying to correlate some of the guys maybe you and I both worked with. You mentioned Road Warrior Animal. I was doing a project with him that unfortunately didn't get off the ground. It was with him, Shane Douglas, and Roddy Piper. And that was the last. Roddy Piper and I did the play-by-play for the pilot, and he unfortunately passed 2 weeks later. And got to know him and his family. Great guy, family man's had the same wife forever. One of those rare marriages that.
One of the few.
What's up?
One of the few.
Yeah, that it's like what is it? I became friends with the bass player of the Scorpions and the lead singer Klaus Meine. He's like one of these guys that somehow his marriage survived all those years, and Roddy Piper was kind of the same way. He was on top of the world, and got to know his family. It's a very unfortunate. But yeah, Road Warrior Animal. My God, just having the honor to be a part of this pilot that never got off the ground, but to just hear their ideas and around the dinner table the night before, it was just like, if these walls can talk, well, now I'll be able to talk. And it was just so surreal. I mean, you saw a lot more than I did, but going back to guys like you said, the Big Boss Man, you worked great with, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and all those guys. And
even Jake the Snake. I mean, Jake was his problems, but still 100% professional, great wrestler. I mean, not the most, he wasn't a, like a Sean and Marty Jannetty.
Okay, right.
But he was a different kind, and God, what a gimmick. And I met Damien a couple times up close and personal.
That's right. Yeah. You got the snake attacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was surprised how heavy that sucker was. Whoa.
Oh, I bet. Well, you see Jake's not a small guy. And if you can kind of tell if it's just struggling that much at times with that bag, it's like, dang, okay, that must be pretty heavy then, So man, did you do any enhancement jobber matches, Al, for like, before they went on the air, let's say at a WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, or anything like that?
I didn't get any of the big ones. I did some house shows for WWF, so I was able to travel around and do some of those, but it was just paydays. I mean, I knew they were watching me. Like I said, I had 2 dark matches. I knew that I needed to move on. I needed to move to the independents where I could thrive.
Right.
Like the guy out of Denver, he would bring in some of the big names that finished, with WWF at the time. And, I was never at that caliber, and I knew that, and I was okay with that. But for the mid-level, or the mid-upper, the guy in Denver is the one who ended up deciding, you know what, we're going to have straps, and, you're going to win the first Intercontinental strap. The world strap went to, the bigger names.
Right.
So he goes, you're always going to be the match before intermission. And then you're going to come back after intermission and do a mixed tag. But that was always, he goes, I got to leave him with a good taste before intermission. So that's your job.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay. So that was my very first belt. In fact,
Oh, awesome, man. That's the.
Now, what happened was I had left him, and so I moved on, and the belt was somebody else, and one of the boys broke his leg in the ring because the ring sucked, and it sucked for years. But he took a bad step, snapped his leg right in half in the ring. Now, that happened to one of our girls too. But anyways, he got sued. He lost. That's when I got the belt back. He goes, yep, I just lost the lawsuit, so it's no longer IWA. Here you go. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was always going to have it refurbished, and I never did. I thought, no, it looks old school.
Yeah. I like that.
But it's a Reggie Parks belt. I was going to have Reggie do it, and now Reggie left us, about 6 months ago. Sadly, he ended up getting COVID at CAC.
Wow.
I think we lost 4 people due to COVID at the last CAC.
Oh, wow.
So, sad.
Yeah,
but
Alex Knight, Alex Knight. Was that his buddy that passed away because he got
I believe so.
Yeah, I heard about that. Eric Malikian, my buddy who's a referee on the indie scene, they were all hanging out, and my buddy Eric ended up getting COVID. He survived, and but he was around that group that it was getting passed around. So luckily for him, but rest in peace to those that, the list goes on, man. And too, man, it's just, we've lost too many. And,
I lost 21 out of 22 of my people that died did not believe in the shot, the illness, anything, thought it was all bullshit. 21 of them are now dead. Which really sucked, but hey, it's not my choice. It was yours.
And these are people in wrestling, or just people
Most of them were in wrestling, but some were just fans.
Yeah, I talk about this on Cali's Finest, talk about it on Extreme Memories, even before all this. It's just, it's hard to fathom, just in general, how many guys we've lost throughout the years. Just half the guys we're talking about, all of them, Dusty Rhodes, Piper, Animal, Boss Man, that you mentioned, they're just like, it's mind-boggling.
Kurt was a tough one. Oh, fuck.
Did you work with Candido?
No.
You never did? Okay, because he was another one that I worked with, and I'll tell you a funny story. We're in the back, XPW, and the boys are kind of like just razzing each other. You're a mark. No, you're a mark. I'm not a mark. You're a mark. Da-da-da-da-da. And Candido just stands up like, guys, would you all just shut the fuck up? We're all fucking marks. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. Now shut the fuck up, go out and wrestle. I'm like,
true.
Yeah. How do you think we got here, man? But no, rest in peace to him. He was unfortunate because he had his demons, but he ended up cleaning himself up, got in shape, totally sober, and it came back to him. It came like Eddie Guerrero and all that. It's like, it was so unfortunate because he did the right thing to clean up, and it's still, it was enough to come back to him still, and unfortunate. But I want to go back to Al, going back to the enhancement talent again. I was at Long Beach, and that was one of the only tapings they ever did in Southern California for Superstars or Wrestling Challenge. That was like the only one they ever did in Southern California that wasn't a WrestleMania or Saturday Night's Main Event at the LA Sports Arena. And this was at the Long Beach Arena. And it's mind-boggling that, looking back, they never did Superstars in SoCal other than that one time in early '93. And you were against Tatanka and maybe somebody else, because it was 4 episodes taped in one outing. And did you see at that time, that was kind of leading up into WrestleMania 9 at Caesars in Las Vegas. And at the time, there was a shift in the company. Did you see the writing on the wall once you saw like, oh, they're kind of going away from these enhancement matches? Because that was kind of the end of that era right around that time.
We knew we were getting weeded out.
Okay.
The big boys were not happy because that meant that every match that they didn't get a night off. Then they would have to go, and they were required to put out 110%, even in their big matches. Otherwise, and I've heard many of them get threatened. It's like, we'll fire your ass and bring somebody else in. We can do it. And every once in a while they go, see this little peon over here? We could make him a frickin' star. So do you want this, or should we make it to him? And they were jerks. I mean, but their job was to push. Vince, I mean, whatever you think of Vince, I mean, he's a hell of a businessman, cutthroat, don't care who he screws. But, it's like even the WWF now, he knew he was going to lose that because they did have it first. Whatever you thought about it didn't matter, but he made sure it cost them millions of dollars to fight him because he had it. That's the kind of guy he was. And, that's the little bit of the stuff I don't agree with.
Are you talking about the name change?
The name change. Going to WWF.
I love, well, maybe show the bottom of your shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. WWF, it's the Panda Bear, World Wildlife Fund with the steel chair over the back.
And the bears are fighting.
Yes, right. A grizzly bear match chained up, right?
But I mean, one of the things that really told me where Vince's head was is the fact that he hired Eric Bischoff. And Eric and I knew each other way before wrestling. We took karate together.
Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, yes.
Yeah, right.
We were friendly. We weren't friends. We weren't enemies, but anyways, when Vince, after everything that Eric said about Vince on the air, took him, and his whole thinking business-wise, I want to sign your check because then you owe me.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, you know what? Me as a businessman, I wouldn't give you one penny. I'll make sure that you never work for me. And I hope, you never work for anybody else. So bye. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the way Vince was. And, so he ended up funding Bischoff and making him a bigger star, whatever, because Vince is, a machine for making stars.
So what time are you talking when Vince had Bischoff on Vince's own payroll? When is this time?
Well, that's when WCW had gone under. Vince bought up all the tape.
Okay. I was confused because I remember Bischoff tried out for WWF in the early 90s, but okay, you're jumping ahead to when when
he actually got to go there. And the only reason he got to go there is because Vince wanted to sign his check where he had to answer to Vince.
And Paul Heyman, same story.
Yeah.
Same story with Paul Heyman. Mm-hmm. And then buying out the rights to your hometown, AWA, buying the rights to Texas and all this stuff, world class, whatnot. I was working at Big Vision Entertainment. We were putting out the Glow DVDs and all this stuff, XPW and all the hardcore and lucha. And we had the Heroes of World Class, and that's the DVD we did at Big Vision. But shortly after we did that DVD, they swooped in. Now nobody could do any documentaries about World Class anymore. But we were able to get that one out before Vince took that over, and he did that with everybody, pretty much. Did you?
I mean, I tried calling Iron Sheik to get him to come out for one of my TV tapings that I did here in LA.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mr. Al, I can't do it. He goes, Vince owns my ass. He goes, I sold out.
Wow.
Money comes, and Vince knows that.
He sold out to the Americans. Yeah. So yeah, I remember your retirement show up in where was it? La Cañada, up in that area?
La Crescenta on that one.
Yeah, that was what, 2007-ish? 2000 around.
I think so. I don't even remember.
That was a huge draw.
That was about 1,000 people.
Yeah, we went in there. We heard like Al Burke's retirement, and I told a couple buddies of mine that they didn't know you personally, but they knew you from WWF. They're like, Al Burke's having a retirement. Okay. They were probably expecting a couple of rows and 1,000 people are here. That was awesome, man. That was a great night, man.
In fact, I've been busy re-editing that whole video that I shot. I had 7 cameras there that night shooting.
Yes. Oh, it was a production.
So we had to do a lot of changes. There's I think one more fix, and then I'm hoping my guy here in Hollywood will be able to sell it for me.
Okay. Cool.
I'm walking 2 movies in right now. The Machine Gun Preacher, are you familiar with the Machine Gun Preacher? Gerard Butler played him in the movie.
I probably, once I see, I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Not
okay. Sam Childers is a personal friend of mine who was nicknamed the Machine Gun Preacher by the Africans over in South Sudan, because he basically walked around with his Bible and a machine gun.
Oh,
and he's there saving the orphans from the warlords that are, basically rape, pillage, and plunder the villages, take the kids, make them into either soldiers or, the girls into, pass around packs, to be nicely. But he hired me to direct a movie over there using all Africans, all Ugandans. So I did. That one is done now, and I think this week I'm going to have a meeting, sign a contract to have that taken to Netflix and see if they're interested in buying it.
Wow.
So, but that was through that. But, everything keeps coming around, and, it's, but, I'm just this close on the wrestling show. I had a lot more CGI put into or more graphics, not CGI, graphics into the stuff. Made a lot more for kids, so it's robotic things like that. So it's trying to work and trying to get things finished. And I sold it for a while at the CAC convention, and probably sold 200-300 tapes. No big deal, but that's kind of one of my projects to finish that show and get that out there now. So it's on my to-do list, and it's right towards the top and almost there.
Oh, well, best of luck, because that was a fun night, and it was
that was a noisy night. Holy crap.
That was just electric in there, man. It was like it was just big time feel, and cool to see the turnout, and everyone was just really into paying honor and homage to your career, which was cool to be a part of that too. So going back, Al, very interesting. It makes perfect sense when you say it, but I didn't think of it on top of my head. Like, yeah, you're right. The main roster was upset that you guys, the enhancement talent, were going. Do you now? Okay, 93, WrestleMania 9 ish time, and then by the time WrestleMania 10, 11 rolled around, that enhancement was basically gone at that point. Pretty much, you had 1 or 2 guys floating around, one enhancement match in the whole 2 hours of Raw or an hour of Superstars. Why do you think he was going in that direction at that time? Because remember, this was before Monday Nitro became an opponent for Raw, because that was late 95, but the enhancement talent was starting to wane before that. Why do you think that was, or were there different parts to that machine as to why, many reasons as to why that was going away?
Part of the scuttlebutt that we heard, Linda had taken over the books, and so everybody had to travel farther, work more, blah blah blah. Well, we didn't make a lot of money. I mean, we did okay, believe me. I mean, I couldn't have gotten a part-time job that paid anywhere near what I was making. But they wanted the big boys to work harder. And they felt that by every match being a quality match, not just a squash or, a jobber match, that the fans would like it more.
Yeah.
I've heard from a lot of the fans that say, like, we miss those days. Those were
so
I mean, you knew. I mean, who was it? Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Louisville, Kentucky. I walk out and they go, "You're gonna get your ass kicked." I'm like, "Oh yeah," but it's like 40, 50,000 people yelling and screaming at you, and it's like, damn, this is the big leagues.
Yeah.
And, but like I said, I mean, I got comfortable, especially by year 4. I was a lot more comfortable out there. The guys knew me. I remember Dusty. I had just worked with him, 3 months earlier. And, you look at the board, you've got hour 1, hour 2, hour 3 of all of our matches. And there I am, Dusty Rhodes, versus Al Burke. I'm like, I go to Dusty and go, we just worked together. He goes, yeah, I know. But I chose you because I know you won't hurt me. I just had ankle surgery. So, just so you know, I'm like, I ain't lifting a finger on you, brother. It's all you tonight. But, getting a little bit of respect, even though it was, as a jobber, I don't care.
Right.
They realized that I was there to put them over. And I remember having this talk with Roddy Piper. Like, I was just a jobber. He goes, no, you put us over. You made us look good.
Yes.
And,
you make people come to see us now at the house show.
Yeah. I mean, I would hear guys, other jobbers, well, I think if I do this and I jump up, and like, no, dude, shut your freaking mouth.
Yeah.
The most I ever told, and I told this to a lot of the guys, if for some reason you get me outside the ring, I go, I'll work my way back up, yell at the crowd, slingshot me in because I take a hell of a bump.
Yeah. You were starting to become recognizable for those
because of that or the backdrops.
Yeah, the backdrops, right?
And either one of those and says it makes you look good.
And even I remember like you got it. You understood like this is my role, this is my position. Why would I rock the boat now and let my ego get in the way? And you're basically showing them that you don't get what they're trying to do. Right? You know what I'm saying? So I remember watching some of your stuff, and when I was at Long Beach, you did your job. Tatanka came out, and it's like Mike McGurk. Here is Al.
I love Mike.
Yeah. And she was great.
And she comes to Vegas too, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. But the only thing you did in that match that was like, but it was perfect. It was like you got announced, and then the sound, and you're just, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's this?
I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. There. Yes. It's like, okay, he has no clue what's going on. He's in the match. It's great, man. Love it.
Man. I mean, I've got to thank wrestling because that opened up all my doors in Hollywood. I've never taken an acting class ever for all of Hollywood. I took 2 commercial workshops, which basically talked about how they shoot commercials and what you have to do, but I've never taken an acting class because I contribute all of that to wrestling.
Oh, exactly. Thank you.
I don't have the list anymore, but I remember it was 4 columns of words on one piece of paper, one regular sheet of paper. And these are all the emotions. And they gave us each one to go home tonight and practice these in the mirror. And it must have been, like 20, 40, 60, it'd be like 80, 70, something like that. Right. A lot of them. And each one was like just a little different, but all these different emotions. And, like it was explained to me, they're not going to hear you in the last row. They can only see you. You have to show them. And that's something I think that's been lost in the translation of training now too. Well, can I get shut the fuck up? No. But that's our kids.
Yeah, and that just times have changed. And I had. Oh, so I'm sorry. Say again.
I was just going to say, I was running shows up in Alaska. I don't know if you knew that. We had a wrestling school and a promotion in Alaska. So we're doing the state fair one year. The opening match, 2 of our students, and they come to me because I'm the booker, and they say, we want to break a table. And I go, no, not in the opening match. But I go, you're coming back in the battle royal so you can do it then.
Yeah.
So what do? Opening match.
Oh, wow.
They pull out the table and they break it.
Unbelievable, man.
So, and the funny part was, in the battle royal, it took 12 stitches to close his face from one boot to the eye.
Right. Yeah.
I chased him all the way back. They called the police on me.
Holy
The
crap.
police show up. And so the promoter had already left. So I get him on the phone. Cop wants to talk to me. He goes, okay, now I understand you guys fight going to the ring, and you fight in the ring, and you fight after. When does the fighting end? He goes, when you get home.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
son, you need to go home. He goes, sir, can I get a picture for autograph for my kid? Yeah, no problem.
Ah.
But yeah, you know, it's like, what disrespect. I gave it to you. You could do it in the Battle Royal, which, you know, kind of made some sense, but not the opening match. And I think anybody who was taught properly, the opening match is 5 to 7 minutes, no gimmicks, no outside the ring. You just get the crowd warmed up. That was your job, plain and simple. Shut up.
You know, it's unfortunate that, of course, like we said back in the day, you had this standard training of paying your dues. And yeah, you would see a few guys in the back that didn't really care about wrestling. They just wanted the glamour, the fame, whatever. And you could weed them out. Okay, fine. They were a few back then, but it wasn't the norm and the tolerated way to be acting in the back. Like, you had them, but it wasn't how we're supposed to act. Now it's kind of the norm. So I almost feel sorry for these kids that are just going with what the norm is, and they're never going to get those lessons it's really just to better themselves in the business.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, I agree.
you know, and so, I mean, I don't know, man. When I get booked and some guys are like, you know, you're calling it like it's totally real. Like, you gotta, like, don't you want to wink at the audience a little bit? I'm like, no, I don't. I'm calling this, yes, like it's real, dummy. Like,
Yeah.
no shit. What now? These guys, some of these announcers, they're literally afraid that they're going to look foolish, that they think it's all real. I'm like, you know what? You've lost the concept of what this art is supposed to be.
We are a circus.
Yes, and the reason you telling this kid, the couple kids, the reason you got in this is because you heard those announcers talking like it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They convinced you.
Yeah, and if they were winking at you, oh, we're calling it, but you would never have gotten into this like you are right now. Never.
You would have never noticed that. You know, it's like, hell, he had something in his eye. Don't know what it was, but it was real.
Yeah. But that was like my I mean, look, just going to Long Beach, going to seeing you, and those were the days where I'm looking at, like, you guys going to the back, like I'm salivating, like I want to be back there. I want to be back there. And knowing that you are giving this audience entertainment because of your commitment to this art.
Yeah.
And if you're not committed, they're going to see right through it. And so I don't know, man, for me, it was just like being in the back. It was like such an honor, at the Grand Olympic, at the LA Sports Arena, all the places we've done shows, and the Viking Hall, Philadelphia, everywhere we've done shows. So, but no, man. So man, I gotta say, man, this is we never crossed paths though, Al. I don't think we've ever worked a show together where I announced and you wrestled. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No, and I maybe I called some stuff like post production, but I can't think of if that ever happened. If anybody out there knows if that exists, I don't think it does. But yeah,
I would remember.
Yeah, I would too, man. And yeah, the hall. Oh, Andre. I was gonna say Lou Ferrigno for a second, but no, that's Andre, man.
And the funny part was when they put these shirts out, because we were all did a little bit of interviewing at this thing, and I turned to a Sin Bodhi. Barney. I go, oh, by the way, did you ever work with him? I thought twice. And it's like,
wow.
But it's like part of history. But yeah, Andre,
yeah,
big guy, great guy.
So what was and by the way, fans, we made a quick change, as you can see here.
I just had to get my Andre in here.
Yeah, get that Andre the Giant tribute. Talking about that, can you give me like a top 3 or your Mount Rushmore of your most memorable favorite moments in the ring and who your opponents were?
I always say the worst, Ultimate Warrior.
Okay, but it's such a big deal though.
Well, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
It amazed me how strong he was, and and not that none of them weren't.
Right.
But when he did the press me over his head, I didn't even have a chance to even try to stabilize, help, anything. I was up there.
Wow.
He pressed me. I tell people like I would press a 10-year-old child. I mean, I was that quick, gone. And then back then, he did the one where he stepped out. You did a face bump to the ground,
Right.
and groin. And then he basically threw you out of the ring, ran out, picked you up, threw you over his shoulder, and ran back with you over his shoulder. Extremely strong. That I mean, it was a rough night. That same TV taping was Big John Studd.
Oh wow.
And John, basically, I throw 2 quick punches, jump to the second turnbuckle, turn around, and he grabs me by the throat. He walks me out with one hand. I'm 240. Starts to slowly lose me, grabs me by the ass, and just throws me into the turnbuckle.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, oh fuck! I had no idea, this monster of a man was that strong either. But then I realized it's like, you're all strong. I mean, you're not, like Road Warrior strong, but you're still strong.
Wow.
Those, that was a heck of a night. But I remember guys working like the Bushwhackers. Guys are hilarious in the ring. I mean, I had trouble I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing because they're telling jokes while we're working.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But then you got, like Heart Foundation and Brett. I mean, smooth, precision, perfect. I mean, unbelievable worker. Very, very honored to have worked with him. Never did work with Anvil, even though they were tag teaming at the time. It was just Brett and I, which was fine. I'm trying to think. The Dusty Rhodes, I mean, those were big. The Jake the Snakes, Big Boss Man. I mean, I got to put Bubba right at the top. I mean, we talk about how we work for them. I remember saying, they call the clothesline and go, hit me hard. Boom, off we went. I kicked out so hard, I hit the back of my head on the mat.
Oh.
I was seeing bubbles, stars, everything. Bubba goes to pick me up. I knock myself out. Give me a moment, Bubba. So he went, he did his little thing, came back, goes, you better? And yeah, picks up and slams me in the corner because that's, where I ended up. And I'm like, oh, damn. He goes, brand new ring. Ain't them stiff? But that was during the match. I was like, I love those moments.
You're right.
Even like Jake, I think it was the second or the third time I worked with him. I basically ended up hitting him. He goes outside the ring, selling it. Who does that?
Right.
So he's outside the ring selling it, and he's like, calls me out. I'm like, what, you want me? Hell yes. I go. He runs around the ring, jumps in the other side. As soon as I get up on the apron, he comes across, clothesline. So, it's like a nice little story, but, it's like, I don't ask for anything myself. He gave it to me. Thank you.
Wow. That's awesome.
Most of the guys, aren't like that. I worked with Tony Atlas. I thought we were going to go to Blood.
Saba Simba.
Yeah. Come back and he starts just reaming me. And I don't know if he was just ribbing on me, but he's like, you fucked up. You did this. I'm like, fuck you. I was like, fuck you. The agents are running over. I go, you guys know me. I go, I know what I'm doing here. I go, this is fucking bullshit. Well, within a month, he was gone.
Yeah, that's right. He had.
I don't know if it was me or what happened or what, but he was gone and I was still working.
That was his little run again of Saba Simba in like 1990. But yeah, you're right. It was very short.
And the sad part was, I guess he was in his car living.
Yeah.
At the time, Billy had 2 nickels to rub together, and Vince gave him another opportunity, and he's kind of squandered that away. I heard, which is sad, but
yeah. Well, he's doing a lot better now, which is good. So that's
good. I mean, sooner or later, It's like Marty Jannetty. I mean, still, sadly, I hear just a freaking train wreck. So sad. I mean, you had the world by the tail.
I know, man.
You were one of the biggest baby faces out there in the whole WWF world. The girls loved you, but yet you're too addicted to this other crap that you're screwing up your whole life.
Oh.
And I've heard he's had problems, being a no-show at dates and things like that, or when he does show, he's so bent out of shape he can barely even stand, and that's sad. I mean, I feel bad, but this is his choice. It's not mine. I choose not to. I mean, believe me, when we travel, we drank like Vikings.
Oh, yes, right.
Well, yeah. But eventually, it's like I think I've had one beer in the last probably 2 months.
Oh,
it's
wow.
like I don't need it. I mean, I'll save it. Like when we go to Vegas, we drink pretty good over there.
Right.
But other than that, I don't care ananymore. I don't need it. And it's nice to wake up in the morning going, hey, I ain't got a headache. Well, I don't feel like shit today.
Right. Yeah, you don't definitely don't miss those for sure.
But I mean, I remember Vegas, what was it, like 3 years ago, Haku was there. And I went and thanked him. I go, thank you. I had the opportunity to work with you at Colossal Connect, you and Andre. And I go, I just want to thank you. You're very professional.
Wow.
And, he had seen me around plenty and things like that. He was like, oh, thanks, brother, But, nice guy, very humble.
Good guy.
But also Barbarian was with him. And Barb and I, we've never wrestled, but we travel 1,000,000 miles together. And got a whole lot of crazy stories. And that was probably the better part, like Honky Tonk, traveling on the road with Honky, or the Iron Sheik, and the cops come in and, Sheik's going down and, they got guns drawn and I'm outside the perimeter and all of a sudden the cops like, don't move. I go, sir, I've been standing here for 5 minutes just waiting to get your attention. When you get a chance, one of those is my guys. I would like to talk to you and your supervisor if that's possible. Pretty soon the supervisor comes over. He goes, this is the Iron Sheik, WWF. I go, he climbed in with this van full of just fans. I don't know what's going on. But, sir, we have a show tomorrow night. Get him out of here right now or he's going to jail. Sheik, get in my car, damn it. No, but that was a Sheik. I mean, you just knew that, he was a disaster and, loved the guy to death.
Right.
I mean, we did a show up in Middle California, Fort Hunter Liggett. And I remember this guy, and I mean, what's the big kid out of Minnesota that also did the UFC? Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
This guy was Brock Lesnar's size.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
But he was an army guy.
Okay.
And the Sheik's like, America, do it. He spits on him. The guy, he ends up taking out like 10 MPs while he's trying to get the Sheik. Well, we found out he got called on the carpet the next day. Well, the Sheik comes back and goes, Mr. Hal, he was really mad. I go, you pissed him off. Of course he was mad. But, that was the Sheik. And, it's just like, and he did his job. Oh, my God. And probably not the best idea to take, somebody, like that to an American base and have him go in America to him. But, those are the great memories. And, we had some fun. Yes, we did.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And I can understand that that's definitely the case. And again, man, there should be a Hall of Fame. I'm going to vote for that. And fans watching this, man, throw your comments down here. And hey, tell WWE that's what you want. And a lot of fans have been doing that already. And you were primarily a heel jobber, right?
Yes.
But they would mix it up a little bit, but primarily a heel.
A little bit, but I think they put me out there just because as a heel, heels bump.
Yeah.
And
okay. Right.
And that was always my specialty. I didn't want to be out there. I don't want to trade blows with you. I don't want to be running fast ropes. You do that. You kick my ass.
Yeah. But you do have like those few exceptions. Like you said, you worked for Colossal Connection who were heels, but primarily you were going against the baby faces. Right.
But, Andre and Haku, Andre, I think even though he was a heel, he really wasn't because he, the biggest man in all of wrestling, at the time. I mean, they came out with Cali was a little bit taller, but he was a freaking monster. I remember shaking hands with him, and I got a big mitt.
Yeah,
and it felt like my hand felt like a kid's in his. He just swallowed up. That's how big he was.
I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him, but I did meet Big Show, and same thing. I could not believe when he held my hand. I got a big hand too, and what the heck? It's like baseball catcher's mitt. Yeah.
And Andre was bigger than Big Show.
Right. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Wow.
But like I said, I still look back at it. I have no ill feelings. I knew my place. I knew my job. And I was just honored to be able to put in almost 6 years. And I think I had like 30 TV matches with WWF. So who gets to say that? Nobody nowadays, like we're talking, they don't have those matches anymore.
And Al, when it all basically ended, it was booked, Mark, with the creation of the Burke Fan Club. Yeah, man.
Well, that was awesome. And I'm actually going to be posting the one where Bob Holly has smashing Mick Foley under the ring, and that's when I saw your face captured, and you got that look like, oh, you got me.
Well, you know what? That was actually Foley's first ever match, and you got a lot of TV time on his debut in WWE. My pleasure to do that. But Al, I gotta just hey man, it's and hopefully one day we will be able to do something where we both are working on the same show together, because it's amazing how that's eluded it so many times for all these years that it hasn't happened at all. But Al, thank you so much, man. If there's anything you want to add before we sign off, or any shout outs, any plugs, anything at all to the fans?
No, I do want to thank the fans. Realizing that without you, we had nothing. I was one of those guys that in the middle of a match, everything happening, I would hear somebody say something, and all of a sudden go, whoa, time out. I'd walk right out, nose to nose, going, you talking about me? And they go, no. But that's something that they will never, ever forget. They'll forget the matches.
Yes.
They never forget, oh my God, he came out. I thought he was going to rip me a new one or whatever. Whatever it was. And, that I realized that was my job also, to make them feel part of the show.
Right.
And I remember because I've done so many charities through the years, especially with Special Olympics.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think I've got like 40 years, with them. But I would always tell people, if I saw somebody that was handicapped, I go, everybody, I don't care if you're a heel or not, pay special attention to them and, be gentle.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this one, Woody Farmer. Remember that name out of San Francisco?
Yeah.
He flew me up there many times to work the show. He liked me because I was old school.
Yeah, right.
And so he'd fly me up there. Well, we had this girl up there. I think she was up there in a wheelchair. And she would cheer for the guy I always wrestled. And as soon as she'd cheer, I look at him, whack, and just crack him. I go, say it again. She would whack. And she would almost be crying every time. And I was doing some autograph thing after, like 2 years, maybe 3 years later. And all of a sudden I see her go, what, you're not going to talk to me? You remember me? She's still, severely handicapped in her wheelchair. She comes up. I go, you're still mad at me? And she goes, yeah, you beat him up. I go, only because you made me.
You made me.
So I told her, I go, every time you cheer for him, I had to beat him up worse. So if you wouldn't have cheered, he wouldn't have got beaten up. So, but making them part of the show or fun or whatever. I knew she was legitimately mad at me because she was in love with this baby face. And that gave me all the more reason to be brutal.
Yes.
But we don't always have to be heels, or we don't always have to be assholes. And just making sure that we make a special night for everybody.
Yeah.
I remember I would take a girl, and she'd have to have a guy with her. I don't care if it was a brother, a boyfriend, her husband. And I walk around, dude, come here. Stand up, come here. So you get up, push him away, sit down, and go, what are you doing with this, Luke? You could have me. And I would laugh at him and stuff, and doing things like that. But it's something they will never, ever forget. Like I said, they'll forget the matches, but they'll remember that one thing when I interacted personally with them. And, so that was kind of my specialty, is making sure people had a very, very good night with me.
And a memory to keep forever.
Yeah. And whether I was yelling at them or screaming at them or hitting on them or, whatever it was, so one last story, you might like this. We were doing an Indian reservation. I think it was Arizona.
Okay.
And it was a battle royal. And I jumped out, grabbed the chair, folded it up, went to go in the ring, and I heard all these chairs get picked up and folded. Whoop! I'm out of here. I ran back to the locker room and was like, oh no, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And it wasn't a huge crowd, but like 60, 80 chairs getting picked up. No, we weren't fighting that night.
Oh man.
But it was going to be a legitimate Donnybrook, and not with Mr. O. Bye.
Man, well, Al, once again, man, thank you so much. And please, I'll stay in touch with you, because I would like to see if that your retirement show ends up getting some momentum behind it, to something they can do with it. And just in general, man, good catching up with you, my friend.
Good talking to you again. Yeah, it's been a lot of years, and
yeah,
maybe some night we'll have to go out and grab a bite to eat and chat some more.
That sounds like a plan. Mr. Outrageous, Al Burke, and myself, I guess the president of the Al Burke Fan Club, Kris Kloss here. And thank you, fans, once again. Cali's Finest on the 10th of every month, right here on the Wrestling Chatter YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, share, and throw a comment down here. Once again, for Al Burke, Mr. Outrageous, my name is Kris Kloss. We'll see you next time right here on Cali's Finest.